What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 3 of 417 Sound, and I am super excited today to have another good friend of mine, Chelsey James, on with me. Chelsey, how is it going? What's up?
It's going. Um, well, as you know, I'm like 8.5 months pregnant right now, so I'm just surviving every day pretty much.
You are very pregnant. You are very pregnant.
You can't see it right now, but very pregnant.
That's awesome. So, boy or girl?
Boy.
Little boy. Okay. Little country boy.
Yep.
That's very cool. So,
Yep.
this is your first one. So, you get to
Yes.
you get to join the one child club that I'm currently a member of. So,
Yes.
that's exciting.
I know. I'm very excited. It's going to be an adventure, but
Yes.
a good one.
Yeah. So tell me how is how is it performing? Because you're not slowing down at all. I mean, maybe a little bit, but how is it performing with a very pregnant belly? Like in terms of like diaphragm and pressure and all of that.
Yeah, no, I've definitely slowed down. I'm glad that it might not seem like that, but I definitely have. I've kind of been forced to slow down because yes, I did not realize how challenging singing could be while pregnant. Even at the beginning, um like when I was still singing with members only at the very beginning of my pregnancy, like just immediately your body changes, and it's been a challenge for sure. But recently, um I just don't have any air, like I don't have any breath support. So it, and I enjoy singing difficult songs, like that's always kind of been my thing, and I just can't do it right now. Like I've just decided, I've got like a couple shows left before he comes, and I'm like, I'm just gonna have to take it easy, do the easiest songs I possibly can, because even like talking, you don't have the air, and like of
Yeah.
course a big part of singing is the breath support. You just don't have that. Like your lungs are just squished and there's nothing, and yeah, so it's been super difficult. I've definitely just kind of had to accept that I'm not going to be able to sing like I was for a few months. So, which is
Well,
hard, and it's humbling though, let me tell you, cuz I'm like, wow. Yeah, I'm not in control.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's just the beginning of your life being controlled by a tiny human.
I know, I'm terrified. I Pregnancy has definitely um I think it prepares you for that a little bit because, I was such a planner, like super type A, like needed to be in control of everything. And then, I've kind of had a rough pregnancy. So I've not been in control of anything because my body has been in control of what I do, which
Right.
has limited me. So I'm like, okay, I just need to be along for the ride, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny you bring up your degree of difficulty on your songs, because that was one of the first things when you and I started playing together a little bit. Was I was like, why does she do this to herself? Like we were, if you go on my TikTok, all right, there was a time during COVID, like Chelsey was at my house when they announced the shutdowns, and we were both like, "What is going?" I remember we looked at each other like, "What do they mean, like shut down?" And we were trying to go TikTok famous, and Chelsey was
Didn't
like,
work out for us.
"Yeah,
That's okay.
it didn't." We are still not TikTok famous. But you suggested that we sing that song from "A Star Is Born" with Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper. I was like,
Mm,
like
yeah.
that's great for me. That's super easy. But for you, I'm concerned." And of course, you nailed it. Like always, it didn't matter. But I was like, why are you doing this to yourself? So I can see how that would be a little bit of a challenge for you to rein things in a little bit.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's been very humbling because those mega belting songs, I just can't do it right now. And I physically, like, it's just the air is just not there. But yeah, I know I'll get back to it once everything goes back to normal. I might have to work out, like do a lot of cardio to get back there,
Yeah.
but I'll do it.
Well, I need to congratulate you. You are the first guest on 417 Sound that is not from Stone County. So you are the third guest. Both of the first two are like my neighbors, pretty much. So you hail from the giant city of Seymour. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes.
What's it like up there with all that?
And by the way,
You got,
if you hear weird noises in the background, it's my elderly 13-year-old dog. Anyway, what was the question?
I was just going to ask what it's like to have electricity up there, because we don't have that down here in Stone County.
Yeah, not very many people do around us. It's so funny because um, I always wonder, like, because the Amish are on the roads a lot out here because they
Mhm.
live out here. And I always like, we have to go around them in our cars. And I'm always like, I wonder what they think of us when we do that. Like, I'm just like, do they think that we're just, because they believe that modern technology is a
Yeah,
distraction from God and whatever.
right.
And I'm like, oh, I wonder what they actually think of us. They're
Yeah,
nice to like our faces, like when they see us doing all of this, like driving or getting around them in the morning when I'm like irritated that I'm behind them.
yeah.
I'm like, I wonder what they think. Oh well.
Cool. So growing up, I mean, did you grow up in Seymour, or is that just where you reside now?
It's where I reside now. I grew up in Ozark.
Okay, I knew this, but for the sake of the interview, I had to ask and play dumb. Yes,
Yes,
you
I
were.
grew up in Ozark. I graduated from there, everything. And then I went to Drury in Springfield. And then I married someone who wanted to farm and have cows and horses. So here I
Yeah,
am.
because that is not. I mean, you were the cheerleader type, right? I mean, that was kind of
I was a
you.
cheerleader.
Uh huh.
Yes.
Not farm girl
And
as
although
much.
I did grow up on a small farm, my parents have had cows since I was like, I don't know, 10, 11. Um, So I did actually grow up on a farm too. I know probably people won't believe that, but I did. So, and honestly, I was more of a farm kid than my husband was. He didn't grow up on a farm, so but I am still farming. Well, no, I don't really do anything to be honest. I'm but yes, now I'm here because of him. So,
Well, that's
it's
all
not
right.
my choice
Farmer
to
wants a wife,
have
farmer gets a wife, right?
animals. What?
I said farmer wants a wife is the new show. This is farmer gets a wife. And
Yeah.
he did it.
We tried watching that the other night, by the way, and had to turn it off because the cringe level. I
Yeah.
just couldn't handle it. I
I'm
couldn't handle it.
I can only imagine. My wife likes watching The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, and I can't handle it. So I can only imagine you
Okay,
put.
Bachelor and Bachelorette is way better.
Oh, not
I'm on
cringy.
that train.
Come on, get out of here.
Yeah. Well, not I guess it's a different kind of cringe. Like these guys on the farmer show, I mean, they it's like they don't even know how to talk to a girl.
Ah, well,
So
I guess we're gonna
anyway,
learn.
yeah,
We're gonna learn under the
I hope
national spotlight.
so. I hope so. And I saw some of these girls, and I'm like, you are gonna hate this life. Like, what are you doing? Like, it's not gonna work out. It's not.
Oh,
But
that's hilarious.
anyway,
So tell me, so you grew up, and again, I know a lot of this information, but I'm asking you because a lot of people watching, I hope, don't know this information. Um, you kind of didn't really get into singing and performing until a little bit later in life. Is that right?
yes. I have a very different story, I feel like, than most musicians, because I feel like most of the people I know who are musicians have either um, they were in like a band with their family as children, or they learned to play guitar at a super young age, or they've just known they wanted to be a singer since a super young age, and like they were in choir, whatever it was. Like almost every musician I know, it's like they have some kind of background from, from childhood in this. And I did not. Like, it's so funny because I did play the flute in junior high, so that's something, but I couldn't read music. I never learned how to I could never read music, which is weird cuz I played in the school band without
Right.
reading music. Like I would have to memorize what the song sounded like and figure out the notes. That's how I played. And I'm like, I don't even know how I did that, to be honest. It doesn't even make sense. But still can't read music to this day. Um, but I never did anything with singing. And in fact, I didn't even try out for my high school choir because I was like, I'm not going to make it. Like, there's no way I would make it. I didn't even, like, it wasn't even a thing to me. I didn't think that I could sing. I mean, I liked singing along to stuff in the car, and I knew that I wasn't terrible,
Hmm.
but I didn't think that I had a good singing voice. So I was like, I didn't even try out for choir because I didn't want the embarrassment of not making it. So literally, it wasn't until like my sophomore year of college, and again, like no intention of doing anything in music. It all started when one night I was getting ready with some girlfriends to go out somewhere, and I was singing along to the radio, and they heard me singing and were like, "Oh my gosh, like holy crap, you can sing." And I was like, "What?" No, I don't
Oh.
think so. And they were like, "Oh my gosh, yes." And so all night, then I was like their show pony. They would like make me sing for random strangers.
Yeah.
And then they dragged me to a karaoke bar, and I was terrified. Like, I never sang in front of people. And so I would, I remember the first time I ever sang for someone was at Bugsy Malone's in college
Classic.
at the karaoke bar. Yeah. Anyway, and so they would like every weekend, like, okay, we're going karaoke and Chelsea's gonna sing and blah blah blah. So I did. I started like singing at karaoke bars, and people seemed to like it. So I was like, okay, cool. And then I worked at the Cardinals Stadium, which is where I met you.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I was like, okay, I want to sing God Bless America, because they do that in the seventh inning. And so my boss was like, okay, do it, do it. And I almost backed out the day of because I was so terrified. And then I did it, and it was great. And someone who also worked there, who had their own band already, saw me and was like, messaged me. It's like, hey, have you ever thought of being in a band? And I was like, no. Like, I literally, this is like my first public, besides karaoke, public performance. Like, I don't know anything about that, but sure. And yeah. So, I mean,
And here you
what do
are.
you
The
want to
rest
know
is
from
history.
there? Yeah.
So did you sing the
Basically,
anthem? Did you sing the anthem at a game too one time or
I did. Once I got some more experience under my belt, performing like, in bars and whatever, I did sing the anthem a few times too, which is so nerve wracking. But
it is, even if there's
yeah.
not a whole lot of people at the Cardinals game in Springfield, but it's still I've done it 2 times and it's luckily they put the words up on the screen so it alleviates a little bit of anxiety. Cuz you never like you always make fun of the people that mess up the words on TV when you're watching, but until you're in that position, like I don't think any musician can blame them. for that happening. It happens.
It singing the anthem is probably like top 5 hardest performances I would say for any singer, professional, anyone, like even Adele, like because it's a song that is super important, number 1. Number 2, everyone knows the words and will know if you mess up. Number
Hmm.
3, normally it's a cappella and
Right.
everyone is silent. Like, when you're performing in like a bar, people are hanging out, they might be having other conversations, like whatever. You're not um you are the center of attention, but in a different way. Like with the anthem, it's like everyone is silent and like
Right.
focused on every note you're singing. And
Yeah.
it is terrifying. I hate it. I hate it and love it at the same time. Because once you do it, you're like, that was awesome. But during it, it's like, and the words are weird. Like it's not, you know, the words
They
are
are. And
weird. They're easy to mess.
yeah, and you bring up a good point that everybody knows the words. And that's why I think it's so funny, because for just the average person watching somebody sing the anthem on TV, it's like, how could you mess up the words to the anthem? You've been singing it your whole life,
All
but I
right.
mean,
People just
you are
don't
under the
realize
microscope.
the pressure. Yes, the
Yeah.
pressure. Um, yeah, because I remember the first time I stepped on like a stage or was about to step on a stage for the first time. I was like, I don't know. It just does something to you. Like the pressure um, makes you forgetful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it takes a long time to overcome that, like a really long time. And still it still happens. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard. It's a lot harder than people think, for sure.
Absolutely. That was the first time. I think by the time I heard you and met you, you had already kind of fired up Backroad Story. But I was standing at the
Mhm.
pavilion when I was working for the Cardinals, and I was talking to, I can't remember who was. I think it might have been Cash Williams or Jay Foch, one of those guys. It was probably Cash. Um, and I heard, your name, and I was like, I looked at Cash and I was like, doesn't she work here? And he was like, dude, just wait. And he started singing, and I was like, what? And so we were down the left field line in that little tunnel, getting ready to set up the musical chairs game. And I came up to you and I
Yeah.
was like, "What was that? I had no idea that you could sing like that." And you were like, "Yeah, I heard you can sing too. We should sing together sometime." And I was like, "Yeah." And here we are several years later
I
trying to be
remember
TikTok
this
famous.
exact day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
I
I'm pretty
I
sure.
remember this exact day and this exact conversation. Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, was your family into music at all? Do you have any other music talent in your family?
Yeah, actually, on my dad's side, but in a different kind of way, actually. Um, actually, my cousin is the band director at Ozark and was at the time that I was in band.
Okay.
So there's a lot of musicians on my dad's side of the family, but more like musical theater. Like my grandma performed at like little theater for years, and my dad did too when he was a kid. And I have a cousin who went to is it Oklahoma City University? That's like it's like where oh, what's her name? Kristen Chenoweth like went
Hmm.
there, and now she lives up in New York and is, you know, doing stuff up there. And but yeah, my it's like actually funny story. My dad's family was on Family Feud when he was a teenager,
What?
and yeah, and they wrote the family wrote a song about Missouri and sang it on the show.
Wow, that is fun fact of the day.
But as far as like the type of music that I've always done, like being in a band, singing country, singing rock, you know, I'm kind of the only one. I think, that's taken that route, but I
Yeah.
definitely get it from somewhere for sure.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you've definitely got at least half of a music gene in there somewhere.
That's
Um,
probably about it, to be honest.
uh, so my family actually auditioned for Family Feud this year, in December, because we watch Game Show Network religiously, and you will find out very quickly, very soon, that when you're up with a toddler at night, an infant, and there's nothing else on TV, Game Show Network never misses. So you will watch lots of Family Feud reruns and lots of The People's Crossword and The Whammy Show and all that. And so one day I was just joking around. I was like, we should apply to be on Family Feud. And so I sent in the application and never in a million years expected to hear anything back. And then I got an email back and they were like, hey, you didn't finish your application. So can you do that? And I was like, they wouldn't be asking me to finish my application if they didn't like want to talk to us. So we finished
Right.
it, sent it in, and they scheduled an interview. And a Family Feud interview is just like this, like it's like Skype or Zoom. And the producer's like, okay, we gotta, high energy all the time. Like everything you do, be high energy, even if the answer sucks. Like you killed it. And so we played a little
That
game of Family
explains a
Feud.
lot. So they tell them even when it's a bad answer to clap, because I'm always like, don't clap for that answer. That was
Yeah,
terrible.
garbage. Lots of garbage answers that still get claps. Um, but anyway, we had our interview. I still haven't heard back, and I probably just broke some sort of non-disclosure agreement. But sue me, Family Feud. Just kidding. Please don't. Steve Harvey, I love you. Uh,
I'll see if I can get any tips and tricks from my dad on how they got on there
yeah, no kidding. It
in
sounds like
the
a
in the early 80s. No,
yeah,
literally,
right.
like my dad was like 15 years old at the time. It's pretty funny. But
I
well,
thought I
that would be super fun. I
yeah,
hope you guys do
I
that.
hope so too. And Cherry is a good last name for Family Feud. So, you
Oh, totally.
have lots of Johnsons and Joneses and all that. I just thought I had a
Yeah.
spider on my shoulder, but it was the tag on my Weezer shirt. So that had a freak out. I hate
Thank
spiders.
goodness.
I hate spiders more than anything in the world. You throw me in a pit of snakes, I will be way more fine than if you throw me in a pit of spiders. I hate them.
I don't get that. My husband is the same way, and it's
Oh,
like you can
mhm.
kill a spider with your foot, which I guess you can kill a snake with your foot, but I'm like, you can kill a spider with like a Kleenex in your hand.
Yeah,
I'm like, a snake is not so easy to kill.
that's a fair point. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I could be like Jim Stafford. I don't like spiders or snakes.
Yeah.
um,
Snakes are like my worst fear.
that's fair. Snakes. Listen, I still wouldn't be excited about being around a snake, but I would take a snake over a
Okay.
spider.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yes. So okay, so after you got into singing at the Cardinals a little bit, that led you into your first foray into the local scene, which was Backroad Story. And
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, you guys did a lot of country, a lot of listen, if you've never heard Chelsea sing, and I'm not even going to ask you who you get compared to because I know the answer. Um, Chelsea gives off mega Carrie Underwood vibes. Any Carrie Underwood song, like she's got it. It doesn't like we don't need to practice. It's done. Um, so when you were doing Backroad Story, did you do any original material too, or were you guys pretty strictly a cover band?
We did. We did both. We started out as a cover band, and you know, like I said, I had no performance experience, like none. And so when these guys kind of took me in and we formed Backroad Story, none of us were expecting it to be like, they all told me, they were like, because they had a rock band, and they all told me, they were like, well, this is going to be like a side thing, like a hobby. And I'm like, okay, cool. Because I don't know what I'm doing, so don't have high expectations. And you know, I remember my first show, and I was like, it was at Cartoons, and I was about to get up on the stage, and I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. After this show, I'm done because this is the
Mhm.
worst feeling ever. And then I got up on stage, and within like 5 minutes, I was like, I don't know. It was a weird thing because I was like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and it just felt natural. So anyway, long story short, there we ended up doing really, really well as a cover band. We were really successful. I mean, I quit my full time job and went to part time because, the band was so successful. And I was able to do that. And we were playing a lot. And so then, yes, we got into writing songs, and we released three, two or three, um, which I'm still really proud of those songs. Like, I actually listened to one yesterday because I was like, I remember that song. That song was dang good. But yes, we did. We started kind of writing. We went out to Nashville a couple times, and yeah, it was going really well. And then it didn't.
Yeah, well, that's all right. Every You can't be on VH1 behind the music unless you have a breakup story. So it's it's happened to every great band
I
at some point or another.
everyone that I've met like after that band in the music industry is like, yeah, that's normal. Like every band breaks up. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
well, yeah, I started to realize that like this is something that I actually want to do like as a career.
Hmm.
And I wanted to do some solo stuff. I wanted to put out
Hmm.
some solo music. And I had an opportunity to do that. I was approached by management and a producer, and um they didn't like that.
Well,
And so that was the end of that pretty much. And then so yeah, so that all broke up and was, got pretty ugly and whatever, but um but I went on to start working on this solo stuff. Because I basically said I'll do both. Like I want to do some solo stuff, but we can still do Backroad Story. Like I want to do both.
right.
No, that
Yeah.
wasn't. They didn't. Well, I should say they. I don't. I can't say it was everyone, but anyway, it didn't work out. That
Well,
wasn't a preferred option. So
and
I said, okay,
they've all gone on to go and have pretty successful things of their own. So everybody landed on their feet,
yeah,
and that's what's
we're
important.
all happy now. We're
Yes.
all doing well. It got a little rocky for a while, but we're good.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's when I started doing Chelsey James stuff, and that's I got into that, and so I started putting out um, solo music. I started writing a lot. I would go out to Nashville a lot. I met some awesome people, um, and yeah, right when I was getting ready to start playing out with Chelsey James band, COVID happened.
Yeah.
So couldn't play shows for a while. So that kind of sucked. But
So
yeah,
when you're in Nashville,
eventually yeah.
yeah. So when you're in Nashville, so I've only been in Nashville once, and it's kind of every country artist's dream to be there. And I mean, I've got a couple friends that have made that jump and made that commitment, and it's terrifying to think about, really. But the only time I've ever been in Nashville, the first thing I noticed was just walking down the street, how many guitar cases you pass by. I mean, everybody in that town and it makes me think of the Crazy Town song by Jason Aldean, where he says, "Everybody plays, everybody sings." It's true. I mean, everybody in that town plays something, or sings something, writes something, and it's so intimidating. Because I wasn't there to try to make it. I was just on vacation. We went to the Opry and did some things, but just I was like, I don't think I could ever do it. Like you have to bring something unique to the table, whether it's your sound or your sound writing is just above and beyond. Usually if you get one or two songs picked up, you kind of, correct me if I'm wrong, but you'll get hired by a label to just be a writer, and you'll just write all the time for these people. It was actually funny. I just heard an interview with Hardy the other day, and he said the saying in Nashville is, if you're in a room with writers, if you write a word, you take a third of the song's success, which is pretty funny. You just bare minimum contribute, and you get a third of the profits. So what was your experience in Nashville? I know it can be, like I said, I know it can be intimidating, especially probably more so for a female artist to be in that setting. So kind of tell me a little bit about what that experience was like for you.
Yeah, it was super intimidating. And I will say my experience with it, I would say it was just really eye opening to me. And I'm glad that I spent the time out there and got kind of a peek into what the industry is like. Because I'll be completely honest with you, I didn't love what I saw.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me really rethink what I wanted. But yeah, so I would go out there and write with people. I had a team of people out there I was working with, and they would, set me up on writes and everything. And, which mostly were great experiences. Sometimes I did feel like, though, because you're right, these people who are either trying to get a publishing deal or they have a publishing deal, it's about numbers for them. It's, hey, I have to write this many songs per year. And so sometimes I would feel like they were just trying to check a box with me and get a
Mm-hmm.
song out when I'm there
Mm-hmm.
to like make quality over quantity, kind of thing.
Right.
But here's what I'll say too about the songwriters in Nashville. I went to a lot of writers' rounds, some to watch, some I played in. And this was when it all kind of clicked for me of like, this industry isn't what I thought that it was. Um, I went to a writers' round one night, and there were a few writers there, and they played their songs, and I remember my jaw just hitting the floor. Like, the most incredible songs I've ever heard.
Mm-hmm.
and and they will never be heard.
Right.
Like, these songs, you'll never hear these songs on the radio. If you even come across them on Spotify, that would be like, I don't even think they've gotten that far with them, honestly. And
Mm-hmm.
I just thought, you just listen to the stuff on the radio, and then I was sitting here listening to these songwriters and just amazed, and like realizing that, again, they're never going to be heard because Nashville is not about what it used to be about.
Mm-hmm.
It's now about how much of an influence do you have on social media, and are you a product that we can sell?
Mm-hmm.
It's much less about the music than you think it is. And I kind of quickly realized that. Not that I was turning down record deals by any means. Let me clarify that.
Yeah.
Um, but I also heard, Nashville is kind of a small town too, in a weird way. Like, in the musician world, like everyone
Mm-hmm.
kind of knows and has like a connection to somebody famous.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would hear stories too about, okay, when you get a record deal, here's what happens to you. When you
Mm-hmm.
sign your life away, they put you on the road for 300 days a year. You're kind of like, you. I hate to use the phrase sell your soul because I feel like that's a little cliche, but kinda.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, you lose a lot of control over what you're doing. And I'll be honest, I started to feel that a little bit. I started to feel like I was being pulled in a direction musically and with my look that didn't feel like me. But
Yeah.
I was told, like, this is how you play the game. And I just was like, I don't like that. That is not me. If I do that, I'm going to be acting all the time and I'm not a good actress. Like,
Right.
so I, and by the time, I mean, I'm married and now I'm having a baby, obviously. So it's way different now. But I just thought maybe this, maybe this path isn't for me
Right.
because music started to become less fun, and like
Hmm.
I was losing the passion a little bit because it was more of like, this is a business, play the game. And it
Right.
was sad. And
Well,
like I
and it's
said,
a
it's like there's so many people out there that you're never going to hear because whatever reason, because they don't know the right person or they don't have enough money. So I just, it's tough.
yeah, and it's I mean it's a machine, and that's why it's so sad, like turning on the radio and you hear 15 songs in a row that all kind of have the same hook or the same melody. Um, I mean, it's when they figure out what works, they latch onto it, and it you're sacrificing integrity at that point. And I think that's it, and it's important, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to do this podcast in the first place was because I think that there are people in this area, you know, in Nashville, in virtually any decent sized town that you go to that has a music scene that could sing circles around people that are on the radio today, and they could play instruments in circles around people on the radio today, um, and write better songs. And it's just it's sad, but it's also what keeps the local music scene pure, and that we're not tainted by this big machine that just churns away hits in Nashville. Um, and it's like that. I mean, in every genre of music is the same. Obviously, Nashville is like the hub, but I mean, go to Detroit and it's probably the same for rock, and go to LA and it's the same for pop. I mean, and you listen to a lot of stuff on the radio and it's like, why? I to this day, honest to God, I really think to this day I have never heard a Tyler Childers song on the radio, just organically in my truck on the radio. Why? He's one of the biggest artists in the world right now. Why? Because he doesn't fit the mold. He doesn't fit the look. He doesn't act the way that people want him to act. Look at, I mean, Hardy's another good example. What he's doing in country music is 90% not country, but I love it because he is who he is. He's like, F you, I'm rock. I'm gonna scream in my songs. I don't care. Like his radio song. Have you heard that?
I love it.
Blew my mind the
Yes.
first time I heard it. I was like, man, everybody's gonna hate this. But it's awesome because he's being true to who he is. And like I said, there's
Yeah.
there's
And
just so many people out there that
people like,
aren't getting the
yeah,
recognition that they deserve.
exactly. And people like him, you know, it's almost like, okay, we're going to put up with you because you write so many number one hits for all of our artists
Right.
that we're going to let you do what you want.
Yep. Yep. That's true. I The first time I heard Wait in the Truck was live. Hardy was opening for Morgan Wallen, and by the end of the show, I mean, Morgan Wallen was great. Uh, but by the end of the show, we were all like, we wish Hardy would come back out and do more. Like we wanted more Hardy, and he played that song. And obviously, Lainey Wilson, her part was just cut in pre-recorded. But when I left, like that's all I could think about was that song, and I was like, this is giving me like Old Red, Lights Went Out in Georgia type, like Southern Vengeance storytelling. and just like, I mean, it's easy to write a song that's pandering and just crap, and to actually
Mhm.
write a story, whatever that story is, but to write a story from point A to point B to point C and get there in a way that flows and sounds good, just it gives you chills every time. And when I heard that song, I was like, this is going to be gigantic. And then when I heard Lainey Wilson was going to be on Yellowstone, I was like, okay, this is really going to be like her career is about to go
Yeah.
upside down.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's and obviously it's easy for me who is I'm nobody. Like it's easy for me to sit here and cast stones at Nashville. Like obviously I would like to think that I would do it in a heartbeat if I had the chance, but I have people ask me all the time, like, why, why don't you try out for The Voice? Why don't you do this? Why don't you go pursue your things and do this and that? And I'm like, I'm cool. I'm cool with this. I'm cool with living in a small town and just doing the
Yeah.
circuit and having fun and not selling my soul. So I know that
Well,
transitions me to my next question. I know you did audition. Was it for The Voice at one point?
I've auditioned for The Voice and American Idol. And it's funny because um, you don't even realize that half the time the people like on The Voice, like that's all been set up with like their management company, and a lot of people get to like just skip to the blind audition round. Like it's just not as authentic as you think it is. But yeah, I tried out for both, and I didn't even. I mean, they let me sing for like 3 seconds, and they're like, "Okay, bye." Like
Yeah.
it wasn't even a thing.
Yeah,
So
which is I
yeah,
mean,
I hear that all the time too. Why don't you try out for The Voice? It's like I have.
yeah. Well, and I always tell people too, and this might rub some people the wrong way, but I always tell people I don't have a sob story. I was, you know, I
Yeah,
have both of my parents are here, and I'm not. Nobody in my family is sick, and my parents were married all through my college career, and like we had enough money
right.
for everything we needed. Like I don't have any sappiness to my life. I've been very fortunate. But that being said, uh, uh middle class white boy from Missouri who has never wanted for anything in his life and took several vacations in his lifetime is not gonna like it doesn't pique the interest of people.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, and it's like think it like Maren Morris, Luke Combs, they didn't make it on the shows either. I
Yeah,
mean, so it's not the end all be all. Like it's TV. It's TV.
yeah. So you don't play any instruments, correct? Nothing.
Definitely not.
So how
Nothing.
has that like do you feel like that's like obviously it's not hindered you, but has that made it more challenging for you because I mean you kind of always have to have somebody accompanying you. Does that make it more challenging for you to like line up gigs and stuff like that?
Honestly, no. I actually prefer it that way, not playing, because I and I guess maybe I've had to do, I guess it's because I've had to do it because I have never played an instrument, but I prefer performing without an instrument. Um, Obviously, like I said, I don't play one, so it's not like I have the choice to play,
Right.
but like on stage, I love moving around, jumping around. Um, and I like to have my hands free and like, I like to perform. So I prefer it that way. And it's never really hindered me. I do think sometimes I'm like, man, it would be easy because I could just go and play
Hmm.
wherever.
Hmm.
But, I'll leave that part to the professionals.
Well, I think that there's something to be said because with my band starting up this year, it's been nice. I mean, we haven't had any shows yet. We've just practiced and we played my dad's retirement party as like a dress rehearsal. but it's kind of
Yeah.
nice to not feel like I have to play guitar all the time. Like I can stop playing and the band is going to keep going and I can do whatever and nobody's going to miss a beat, you know? So it's kind of I can definitely see where you're coming from in that because it's easier to perform without having to have a guitar in your hand. Um so I want to
I
talk
I
about
I love I yeah, I was just gonna say, um, I feel like you can like engage more with the crowd
right.
too sometimes like, when you're not stuck in one spot. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Um So a couple of years ago, was it 2 years ago? You became the lead singer for Members Only, which is if you are listening to this and you don't know who they are, they're probably I would say the biggest local band we have around here. They're an '80s cover band, but all phenomenal musicians. And I've got to know Jake Simpson, and we're gonna have him on the podcast too. I'm super excited. I'm filming his show
Oh,
tomorrow. Um,
ah,
yeah, Chelsey introduced me to Jake, and uh, just a phenomenal person and great musician. He's got an awesome story. So if you're listening to this and you're wondering who the next guest is, it's going to be Jake Simpson, and I promise you, you're not going to want to miss that because he's like part stand-up comedian, part musician who's had some national success. So really excited. But
yeah.
um, so you had up to being members only, you had been almost exclusively country. And I know that we had talked about, you know, you kind of having to lose your twang a little bit to really lead that charge for members only. So I'm really curious as to what that looked like for you. Did you have to practice? Like, did you have to really work on taking the twang out, so to speak, to be a '80s cover band front woman?
Yeah, yeah, oh gosh, that whole experience was wild. Also, like back to your point earlier about like the local musicians that we have in the area, Jake is a great example. We're actually, and people might not realize this if you've only lived here, but like we are lucky to have the musicians that we do because not every area has really good local musicians. And
Right.
Jake, he's such a great example because you'll find out on his episode, obviously, the guy won Star Search twice.
And
Star Search,
played
like the
played on
legit
Oprah.
Star Search. Played on Oprah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and we have him here in Springfield. Like
Yeah.
it, anyway, so I could talk about Jake and how good he is all day, but I'll let him talk about himself on his episode. But yes, members only. That was crazy. Um yeah, I saw a Facebook post that they made. I was scrolling Facebook one night at like 2 in the morning because I couldn't sleep. And they made a Facebook post and they're like, hey, we're looking to hire an additional singer. And I was like, additional singer? Cool. Like maybe they're wanting a female to do duets or something. So I like reached out, sent Zach my stuff, and I didn't know Zach at the time. Sent Zach some videos and whatever. And um he calls me a few days later and he's like, hey, by the way, just so you know, like we're actually auditioning for like the lead singer spot. And I was like, oh, okay, no. Like, I immediately was like, no, okay. Like, I just was like, there's no way. So thank you for your time, but I won't waste it.
Mhm.
And long story short, I did audition because I thought, what the heck? Let's meet some people and network. And then when Zach called me and said that they wanted me to do it, because again, this band had been fronted by a man for 12 or more years.
Mhm.
So I was like, no one's going to accept a female lead singer of members only. Like, that just won't happen.
Mhm.
And so when Zach called me and offered me the spot, I about fell over. But yeah, you're like, Did you have to practice? Oh my gosh. So then instantly after that phone call, my life was filled with 80s music. I mean, I would come home from work, and the minute I got home from work until it was time to go to bed, I actually what I would do to get my cardio up, because 80s music is not easy to sing. I
Mhm.
would ride my bike, like my Bowflex bike, and my dog is choking in the background. It's fine. I would ride my Bowflex bike and sing the songs with the lyrics in front of me. Are you gonna be okay? Sing the lyrics, or sing the song with the lyrics in front of me while I was on my bike. And so I was working on my cardio and learning the lyrics, and I would just for hours every night practice these songs, because the main reason was I was terrified of people judging me as a female, and I was like, I'm not going to give these people a reason to criticize me.
Mhm.
The public meeting, people that come to the shows, like longtime members only fans. I was like, I am not going to give these people a reason to not like me. So I have to be literally perfect. So yes, lots and lots and lots. Even like my coworkers every day, which bless their hearts, we had members only playlists playing in the office on loop 24/7. So yeah, and Jake was a really big help too with that, like with making sure that my my pronunciations and my tones like matched more of a rock style.
Mhm.
Um, but to be honest, those guys also, they I really felt like they were comfortable with me making the songs my own as
Mhm.
well, which really was helpful, because I was so afraid I was going to go in and they were going to be like, no, you have to do it exactly like this. And they were like, no, I mean, you're the singer now, like you make it your own. And so I kind of had the freedom to do that as well. But yeah, such a great experience, such a crazy experience. Um, and I'm luckily, after the baby comes, I'm going to get to um, fill in with them now and again, maybe once a month or so. So I'm really looking forward to that, because I love those guys, and I, what they have been able to do as a band is crazy. And I still to this day, when I'm with them, like when it was Jake's turn to sing a song, or when it was Zach's turn to sing a song, and I'm like standing off side stage watching them, I'm just like in awe every time, because they're so good. Like,
Mhm.
it's incredible.
When I so Chelsey and Isaac Kenneth and Wes Dickinson have headed up this country music and friends at Southbound, which is the first Wednesday of every month. And I'd reached out to Chelsey because I saw the first one and I was like, that sounds like a blast, and please let me come play. And Chelsey was like, sure. Um, and so that's the same night Jake Simpson was there, and that was the first time I met Jake. And hearing him sing for the first time, and Chelsey had told me that he's the keyboard player for members only. And after he got done singing his first song, which was a Vince Gill song, we were just rehearsing backstage, and I could not believe my ears. And my first thought was, how is he the keyboard player of this band? But it speaks to the talent. I mean, there's so much talent across the board in that band, and I know Jake gets to front, several songs during a set
Mhm.
with members only, but I was just like, this dude is the real deal. But like I said, it totally speaks to just the talent across the board in that whole band. And when I heard you were gonna be filling those shoes as the lead singer, I definitely saw the fit, and I thought it was great. And obviously you've converted them because they replaced you on your maternity leave with another female. So I
I
guess they didn't
know.
mind.
I'm so proud of them. I opened their eyes, I guess.
You did.
I was pretty terrified to be, the first female because I'm like, and I, people, a few select people had their comments,
Yeah.
but for the most part, everyone was so welcoming, and I think it just, it's funny because I've always had this goal as a musician of, because it's hard being a woman singing country because it's not as cool as the male singers. Their shows aren't as fun. It's not as much of a party, whatever. The girls can't go as hard as the guys, whatever. It's always been my like life's mission to change people's mind. Like with my country shows, I wanted people to come to my show, like for guys to come to my show thinking like, oh, we're about to hear some Taylor Swift, style
Hmm.
stuff,
Yeah.
and then they hear me start singing Jason Aldean and whatever else, and I'm like, it's been my life's mission for people to come to my show and change their mind about female artists. And
Hmm.
so whenever the members only thing came up, I was like, well, technically this would fulfill my ultimate dream and goal of
Yeah.
showing people that girls can do it too. And I
Yeah.
really feel like we did that. Like it was awesome. I sang for like 20,000 people at the 4th of July show in Republic, so it never slowed us down. And that was a big fear of mine. I was like, I don't want to slow you guys down because people are not going to come to the shows because I'm a girl. But
Yeah.
no, it didn't happen like that. So I'm so excited that they have a girl again, girl power. Maybe I can join some shows with her and we'll do some girl power duets too.
There you
But
go.
yeah,
So
they, I, I'm very, very lucky to have had the opportunity, and I will be back for some select
there
shows.
you go.
So stay tuned when I'm skinny again.
Yes. So it's funny that so when you and I were playing in my kitchen trying to go TikTok famous during the pandemic, I sent you a TikTok one day of a girl singing "Alone" by Heart and just killing it, and I was like, "Can we please do this?" And when you took over for members only, I was in my head going, "Will you please, please, Chelsey? I really hope you play this song." And then one day I came across a video on Facebook that members only posted of you singing that song, and I was like, "This is it." Like there were some killer '80s ladies, and like
And
Heart.
that song is hard.
Oh, I have
Like
no doubt. I have no doubt.
I was always that's that song and Broken Wing by Martina McBride are like the two songs that I'm always like scared right before they come up in this list. And it takes everything in me. So, but it's so epic too. It's like you got to do
Yeah.
it. You have to do it.
It alone, man, that hits some notes that are not human. So I'm hats off to you.
Yeah,
And I know
it's
I
yeah.
mentioned earlier we were talking about "Wait in the Truck" by Hardy and Lainey Wilson. If you come to the next Country Music and Friends on April 5th, we're gonna give that song a shot, and I'm super excited. We usually, I mean, we've got some experience playing together, so I'm excited that we can add a new one. But so yeah, that's the next Country Music and Friends. Do we know who the special guest is going to be? Because I'm actually hosting that one because Wes can't be there, so I'm part of the OG group that night.
You're a host, and I'm actually kind of taking a step back from my hosting duties on that one too. I'm not going to be sitting up on stage the whole time because it is 80,000 degrees up on that stage with all the lights, and it just
Yeah,
kills me. And by the end of the night, my back hurts so bad that I can't even stand it. Yes. And um, so the other guest, his name is Johnny, and Isaac, I'm like reading what Isaac sent me about him.
Mhm.
He just performed at the Ryman. He just performed at the Ryman this past weekend with Sam Hunt and Mo Pitney.
Wow.
So pretty legit guest.
Can you stop
We
bringing
might
these
have a
people when I'm there? Can we save them until I'm gone?
right. Me too. Um, no, but we might have a couple other surprise guests if they
Okay.
pop in. We'll see. But as
Okay.
of now, Johnny, you will be there. Isaac will be there. I will be there, and our guitar player Zach will be there. So it's going to be a great night.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And the one that I performed at, there was not a single empty chair in the entire
Yeah,
Southbound. I mean, it was full
yeah,
to the max. So I think it's how
yeah.
is it $5 cover?
$5. That's it. Yep.
$5. That's it. So and they've got great food too, which I was really surprised that the food was as good as it was. I
Oh
was
yeah,
very pleasantly surprised. Um,
yeah.
and then I've actually booked another show there solo, which will be my first time. And then I booked I've got a couple band shows there coming up. So yeah, super excited. Josh
I can't.
Cherry and the Hucklebears coming to Springfield,
I can't
baby. We
wait.
made it.
Yes. When will those
Uh,
be? Because will I be like just have had a child or what?
yeah, Cinco de Mayo is the first one.
Okay, my due date is May 7th, so I probably won't
Well,
be at that one.
all right. That's
I'll
that's
catch the
I'll give
next
you
one
a
though.
pass. I'll give you a pass. Um, well, it has been great talking to you. I want to know. Obviously, so you're back. You've kind of shifted back from '80s to kind of country stuff at the Country Music and Friends. When you're alone in your car, are you listening to country? What's on repeat right now in Chelsey James iPod Shuffle?
Um, well, recently it's been the Hardy album.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
country rock, I guess. I love that. Um, and let's see, what else? What else? I mean, as you know, I'm a big Carrie Underwood fan, so she just put out a new song, so I've been listening to that as well. But yeah, right, Hardy is like my obsession right now.
Very good. I tried to get tickets to his show in Springfield, and it sold out in like 0.5 seconds. Um, I'm
If
probably
I have to
going to
pay,
yeah, I'm probably going to criminally overpay for third party tickets to that show.
yeah, and I'll do it because I'm going to see him. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I have to see this show. That's gonna be a crazy show.
I think you should
If
just
you come
call.
across multiple tickets for sale, let me know.
Maybe we should go together. We can double date
Yes.
with your.
Yes.
We'll leave the babies with somebody.
Yeah,
I
I think
think
that would be a good idea.
I think you should call JQH. Sorry, Great Southern Bank Arena, and just say I don't know if you know who I am, but I was the lead singer of Members Only at one point, and so let me
Yeah.
in.
No, what they're gonna say is, "Oh, we remember you." This is a whole another story for another day, but like, "Oh, we remember you. You're the girl that got hit in the head with the football at the show, and we had to pay for your medical bill. So no,
I
you're not welcome
totally
here."
I totally forgot. I totally forgot about that story. What kind of podcast host am I to not bring up that story? Because I read about it on Facebook in the newsletter, and I was like, surely it wasn't
What?
Chelsey.
Hold on.
It was in the newspaper.
Hold on. This is the first time I'm hearing of this.
The newsletter
The
posted an
news.
article. Yeah.
What? Oh my gosh. Okay,
That-
wait. Okay, we have to address this because I need to clear some things up. I don't know. I did not know that there was an article about this. That's super embarrassing. Um, but let me just say, because there have been lots of rumors and people are like, wow, she's such a baby. Listen, okay? This was not just like someone was playing catch with a football and hit me in the head. Okay? I've been hit in the head by lots of things and I wouldn't cancel a show for that, okay? What happened was I cannot believe this. We were in sound check. It was a members only show, and we were in where the big bear statue is. So like behind the football field,
Mm-hmm.
we were in that little courtyard area setting up and sound checking. And the football team was practicing, and they were doing field goal kicks, and um, their balls kept hitting the stage, and like very expensive equipment on this stage, and so we asked them because their staff was up by our stage ready to catch the balls because they knew that they were going to come out of the field, apparently, which I'm like, you see a stage here of thousands of dollars equipment. Like, what are you doing? So we asked them, hey, can you have them stop? Because we couldn't move the stage. Like,
Or
our stuff
there's
was
two
here.
field goal posts on a football field. There's one on the other end too.
Yeah, that's what we thought as well. And we're like, we can't move the stage. All of our stuff is set, plugged in, lights, guitars, thousands of like, please tell them to stop. And they're like, oh, we can't do that. So we're like, okay, well, so we just stood on the stage and like kind of guarded our stuff. And then they moved on to something else. So we all turned around and started sound checking again. And what do you know? A few seconds later, I get drilled in the head with something. And let me tell you how hard it was. I thought that one of the speakers had fallen off of the pole and hit me in the head. That is how hard this was. Knocked me to the ground. And I didn't even know what happened. And I was so stunned. And Jake was like, all right, we're done. Get off the stage, everyone. Get off the stage, everyone. And I kind of like stumble off, and I'm like assessing the situation. Like my head is just scraped, and they're like, no, a football hit you. And I was like, a football? That felt like someone hit me in the face with a metal bat. Let me tell you something. This was like a 50, maybe 45-yard kick, okay? This wasn't just some little ball someone was playing catch with, okay? So I'm standing there and I'm like, okay, I'm good. And then like a minute later, I was so dizzy. And mind you, I've had some pretty bad concussions in the past from cheerleading, so I'm sure I'm like already messed up. But I start getting super dizzy and I'm like, okay, I might need to sit down. So I go sit down, and then I'm just trying to like see what I'm gonna feel like. Do I have a concussion? Definitely had a concussion. Just trying to see like, okay, am I gonna be able to do this show? Whatever. And because singing rock music with a concussion's not the greatest scenario, especially when it's 95 degrees outside. And so then it became this big deal. Then the campus police come in and they're like talking to me. They're like, give us a statement. And I'm like, oh shoot, this is like a big deal. Yeah.
Like, I don't want the kicker arrested. Chill.
No, yeah. I was like, well, I was standing on the stage and I got hit in the head by a kick. I don't know. And they wanted to put me in an ambulance. And I was like, no. Like, I mean, yes, my head is injured, but I don't need an ambulance. Like, no, that's ridiculous. But they did want me to go get checked out, liability on them.
Right.
So I did. So obviously we couldn't do the show. I did have a concussion. I was also pregnant and didn't know it at the time. So that didn't help either, I'm sure, with the feeling good and everything. And so that was it. Like, they were very upset we didn't do the show. But I felt terrible. Like, and my head was scraped across my entire forehead. Anyway, um, so that's all that happened. Yes, it was a field goal from, and that's what I'm saying. They were kicking field goals, but we were also like past the fields. I'm telling you, this was like a 45-yard kick to the head.
Huh.
Like, and so people were going on Twitter making fun of me for this. And I'm like, okay, because they didn't realize that it was a field goal kick that like went way out of the field, and like they literally thought that like someone was throwing the ball and hit me. Like, of course I wouldn't cancel a show for that.
I
Didn't know there was a news article till now though. That's awesome.
I thought that. So I'll have to try to find the article if it's still up. But somebody shared it on Twitter, and the headline was "Members Only Concert Canceled After Member Gets Hit by Football." And I was like, it didn't even register with me that it might be you. Like, I was just like, oh, that's kind of funny, and I kept scrolling on. Like, I don't think it even mentioned you, probably, unless it said, lead
Thank
singer.
goodness.
I'm gonna have to try to find that and send it to you. And I always kind of do like a little blurb in our YouTube page on the podcast about kind of what we talked about. So now it's gonna be listen to Chelsey talk about how she got hit in the head with a football and was pregnant and didn't
Let Chelsea
know.
clear the air about the football incident.
Chelsey
Yeah,
James
it was
opened
like
lawsuit against Missouri State University football program.
right. Yeah. No, and it was all like, I mean, some of our equipment got damaged too. And like the university paid for my visit to urgent care. And like I said, they wanted me to go in an ambulance. And I was like, no, that is not necessary. And here people are making fun of me. But yeah, no, they were great. They paid for like the damaged equipment. They paid for my urgent care bill. It's all fine. People were
Yeah.
upset we didn't do the show, but what do you
Oh yeah.
expect of me?
What do you do?
Come on.
What do you do?
What do you
Um,
do?
so I got just a couple more questions, and first of all, I
Okay.
want to know. So everybody kind of has a guilty pleasure in music. Not a lot of people know this. My guilty pleasure has always been Panic at the Disco. I love, and they just broke up, and I'm hashtag devastated, and I never got to see him play. But I've always kind of, we kind of grew up in that like emo rock era, and something about Panic at the Disco stuck, and I've listened to them since like 7th grade, and I've never stopped. So I want to know, Chelsey James, do you have any guilty pleasures in music? And I want to out them in front of the tens of people that are going to listen to this.
The tens. Ooh. Um. Gosh, that's a hard one. I'm trying to think of like, yeah, stuff that's on my playlist that I'd be like embarrassed for people to know that I listen to. Um.
Or just something, maybe even something like a song that comes on the radio that you're just like, this kind of hits, and I don't like it. Because you know what song I hate is "Unholy" by Sam Smith, but it kind of slaps. Like,
hmm,
I kind of like it.
yeah, it does.
I like the chord
That song
progression.
is pretty awesome. Um, the one that keeps coming to mind is like Celine Dion, which is
Oh,
not
okay.
that weird, but like I don't know. I guess those um, like '90s love song ballads like that.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of always been my dream to do a cover of the Titanic song that she sings.
Is that the concussion talking, or is that actually what you want?
No, it's yeah, I would love to do that, but like when would I ever get but that's the thing. That's the thing. If I started singing that song, people would be like, like what are you doing?
Has
But I
anybody
think
ever
it's
heard
one
that
of like
song?
the songs of all time.
Has anybody ever heard that song out of the context of Titanic? Like, does it exist not in Titanic?
Not really.
See, I think Celine Dion definitely qualifies as a guilty pleasure because if you pull up to Southbound on April 5th and you're bumping Celine Dion in your car real loud, I'm definitely going to look at you funny and I'm not going to be the only one.
Yeah, you can't do that at Southbound. They don't accept that kind of music there. But also, I would say too, like Disney ballads. Okay, like for example, like like the Beauty and the Beast theme song that like oh, I think Celine Dion sings that one too. um but like all of the Disney songs that at the end credits they're sung by like famous people
Yeah.
instead of like the characters.
Yeah.
I
Like
love
Christina
that
Aguilera
stuff.
in Mulan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
And
fair.
like the
That's fair.
Aladdin song, like yeah.
Yeah.
But like yeah, I could never like play that in my car with other people because it'd be kind of weird. But
Dude,
it's epic. It's good
Will Smith
music.
Will Smith's version of Friend Like Me in the new Aladdin, it's a banger.
I haven't heard that one. I'll have to
You'll
check it
have to look
out.
it up. It's a banger.
Yeah,
That was before he
I
slapped
will.
Chris Rock, so obviously, you know,
Yeah,
we
he's
feel a
not
different
my
way about Will
favorite
Smith now.
anymore.
Okay,
Yeah,
last
for sure.
question. This is my calling card question. I'm going to end every episode with. You get to build your dream concert
Okay.
across any era, any genre, whatever you want. This is your dream concert. You get an opener, a co-headliner, and a headliner. Who would you have as your, and then where would you have it? That's a new part I just thought of, and I'm going to add in now from this point forward. So who's your lineup, and then what venue would you have it at?
Okay, so opener, co-headliner, and headliner.
Yep.
Mm. Can they be dead?
Yes, they can. Any era, any genre. You can have Celine Dion open for Johnny Cash if you want to. I won't judge.
Now, you would expect that I'm going to say Carrie Underwood, but you're wrong.
Okay.
Because I've already seen her. So I'm trying to like I'm I'm trying to think of people like legends that I've never gotten the chance to see because they're either dead or like they don't really tour anymore.
Right.
So okay. So yeah, I'm actually gonna go with all old people.
Okay. That's all right.
Okay. Opener, Elvis.
Okay. Boy, what kind of show is this?
Co-headliner.
Hang on. What kind of show is this if Elvis Presley is opening?
I know. Just wait. Elvis as the opener, co-headliner Michael Jackson, headliner Guns N' Roses.
Wow. I love the lineup, but respectfully, they are all sorts of out of whack. Not really out
But
of whack. I would just,
to me, if I think of people who have put out some of the most epic music of all time, like those are definitely three people that come to mind. And I say Elvis
I think
as
it's
an
fair.
opener because compared to the other two, he's just a little more mild, you know? Like
That's
he's
fair.
like it's not I mean Elvis and Guns N' Roses like he's definitely obviously it's Elvis, but like his music is more of a warm up to that other stuff.
The gyrating hip movements don't hit like they used to for Elvis.
Right. Right.
We see that at Walmart every day now. It's not not anything out of the ordinary.
Come to
Okay,
our show
Chelsey.
on the
So
5th. You might see some of it. Just
that's
kidding.
right. Not from me. Probably from Isaac. He seems like the gyrating hips type. Shout out Isaac
Yep.
Kenneth. Don't tear those jeans, buddy. Uh, oh, he's gonna kill me for that one.
I don't know how he puts those jeans on, to be honest with you.
Isaac,
I
leave
think
now.
that
This is about to turn into the roast of Isaac Kenneth. Please, Isaac, if you're
I think
listening,
that
please
every
leave.
time I see him, I'm like, how is that even possible? Anyway,
We love him though. He's the nicest guy in the entire planet. So
yes, he
we
is.
do it out of love. He is.
Yes.
Okay, so Chelsey, tell everybody where they can find your music, social medias, all that jazz.
Yeah, I'm not as active on there right now because I'm about to have a baby and everything. But Chelsey James Music, and my name is spelled Chelsey. If you try to spell it the normal name, you won't find me. But Chelsey James Music. I'm on Spotify. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on YouTube. All the things. So yeah.
Great. Well, I very much appreciate you spending the evening with me. I have laughed very, very hard tonight. So thank you for this. This is a of the 3 podcast episodes I've done. This is the easily the most comedic. So always healthy to
Perfect.
get a good laugh in. I very much cherish your friendship, and I'm thankful for you. And I think you're an incredible talent. And so I'm very much looking forward to the next Country Music and Friends, which is on April 5th. I'm assuming you don't have any other shows coming up with the impending the impending child that we have getting close here. So it might be one of your last
Yeah.
chances to catch Chelsey in action for a little bit. So definitely would encourage you guys to come out. It's a great time. It's only $5 and get some cold drinks and some delicious food. So thank you again, Chelsey. We are going to close out the show with her original song, The Men and the Boys. We will catch you next week on 417 Sound with our friend Jake Simpson. We'll see you next week.
Woo!
He walked in through those swinging doors, working his way across the floor. A catalog cowboy to the core, and them boots ain't ever seen much before. But I can see right through it, so don't you try to prove it. And how do I make you see that your lies ain't working on me? I need the real thing, not a one-night wannabe. I want a guy with a skull ring who knows how to hold me. Slow hands, he don't mind to get dirty. A strong man, I know we're gonna get along. Yeah, he makes it easy looking through the neon and the noise to see the difference between the men and the boys. You stepped in 'cause you could see that I couldn't get that boy to leave. You had scuffed up boots and faded jeans. You didn't have to try 'cause you were downright country. Boy, you beat me to it, so you don't gotta prove it. How do I make you see what you got sure working on me?